The views, opinions, and advice expressed in this podcast are solely those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of Pattison Media or the sponsors of this program.
Breathe out. 2, 3, 4.
Wellness is,
I would say sugar is probably the most widely used and least regulated drug there is.
It's just so powerful mentally and emotionally. That's why a lot of people have gotten really emotional in here, and there's a lot of tears around here.
And even though we can't see them, they're basically woven into everyday life at home, at work, at school, everywhere.
What a privilege it is to have loved someone or something so much that it hurts this bad when they're gone.
When you're not in a great headspace, if you go outside, if you listen to music, if you move your body, if you're in a happy social environment, any of those things will elevate your mood.
hey there, welcome to Everything Lifestyle, your feel-good podcast where real life meets real wellness. We're here to help you swap survival mode for thriving mode with practical tips to boost both your body and your mind. Powered by Pattison Media, this episode explores the sugar-brain-gut situation. Jumping right in, we talk cold plunging. Are cell phones and Wi-Fi bad for our health? And a fun chat around starting something with Life Unlimited, Stephanie Staples. And our final chapter on grief. I'm Linda Freeman. Let's jump in and navigate the world of wellness together.
How to choose wellness.
When we think about sugar, we usually picture dessert, not necessarily brain chemistry or gut health, but sugar actually has a big impact on both. In the brain, it lights up the reward system, giving us that quick dopamine hit that makes sweets so hard to resist. I'm one of the people who find it so hard to resist. Now, in the gut, too much sugar can throw off the balance of good bacteria, leading to inflammation and even affecting our mood and energy. So sugar isn't just about taste, it's shaping how we feel, think, and function every day. Dr. Jenny Ding is the founder of Kale Health Canada. She is a Harvard-trained Canadian board-certified physician with a personal experience reversing prediabetes. Her mission is to provide personalized metabolic and gut health solutions that empower individuals and communities to their best health. So who better to have on than Dr. Jenny Ding? And welcome back to Everything Lifestyle.
Thank you so much for having me again. Excited to be back.
So let's start with the brain and how sugar affects the brain's chemistry, particularly in terms of dopamine and those reward pathways.
It's kind of hard to avoid. So hopefully after today's discussion, we're going to come with some points of action that we can actually use. Our brain loves sugar. Our body loves sugar. It stimulates the dopaminergic system in our brain. And this creates cravings and leading to more consumption of this product to achieve the same pleasurable effect over time. Studies have actually shown that in people with, say, obesity, prediabetes, diabetes, they have a more blunted dopamine response in this area of their brain because they have had this chronic systemic inflammation for long periods of time and likely have consumed a lot of foods with high sugar over time. So it actually downshifts their response. So they develop a tolerance. So essentially, we need to almost detox our body and brain if we feel like we're on this roller coaster of needing cravings and thinking about sugary foods or even processed foods that has hidden sugar in it.
Now, what about the role it can play in our mood, our focus, and our memory?
When we feel low in our mood and when we eat things like sugary foods, it can definitely light up the brain so that our mood gets better temporarily from those foods that we are eating and trigger the dopamine release. But over time, with the frequent and the high consumption of sugar, it can definitely lead to more of a brain fog, more irritability. And over time cause you to have greater risk of depression and anxiety. Because what's actually happening is your body and your brain gets its boost, and then the crash that follows after. And then you kind of need to have that boost again. And so you're almost dependent on this quote-unquote drug in order to feel better mentally. But then that dependency causes you to consume more of this, and that causes more inflammation over time in the brain, lower cognitive function. So Alzheimer's disease has been linked to diabetes so closely that it's called now essentially type 3 diabetes.
Wow.
So essentially high sugar causes lots of neuroinflammation in the brain over time.
Yeah, fascinating that you're saying type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's. That's a real eye-opener for people to really understand the effects something like sugar can have within the body.
I mean, I would say sugar is probably the most widely used and least regulated drug there is.
Talking about the microbiome in the gut, that's where we're going to go next, is how sugar interacts with the gut microbiome.
Yeah. So if we have chronic high intake of added sugar, it can change the type of bacteria in our gut in many different ways. So one, it could lower the diversity of the good bacteria in our gut and favors more of the opportunistic and pro-inflammatory species like Firmicutes in our gut and pathogenic bacteria to overgrow over the good guys. And that is local inflammation and can worsen symptoms like IBS, and some of the harmful bacteria in the gut uses the sugar, including some of the components from the gut's own mucus layer. So our gut lining have this mucus protective layer. And then if your gut becomes quote unquote leaky, then the inflammation is no longer contained in the gut and that leaks out into your body. And that causes systemic inflammation and can weaken your immune system and cause many other things. A lot of people end up having joint problems like joint pain, other things over time.
I think it's really important for people to really understand how important our gut microbiome is. And there's been so much out on this lately, which is why we wanted to talk about it, right? Is how important having a really healthy gut biome is, and that sugar can be a bad influence.
Yeah. So the sugar that our body naturally needs, we already get enough from complex carbohydrates, from fruits, from vegetables, and all these things. So the WHO actually recommends limiting added sugar to less than 10% of your total daily energy intake, and ideally under 5%. So that translates to about 25 grams or 6 teaspoons for most adults of added free sugar in any form, whether that's table sugar, syrups, fruit juice.
So what effective strategies can you give us for reducing sugar without feeling super deprived, and then also being able to stick with it?
That's a hard one for people to do because it depends on the spectrum of how reliant your body and brain is already on sugar. Studies have shown that it's actually best just to cut out cold turkey versus gradual tapering. And so if we cut out added sugar, then we can actually see some drastic changes within days to weeks. Your gut microbiome can change within 24 hours, but it needs time to stabilize. So once you cut out the sugar, in the first 1 to 3 days, you're going to have some rapid initial shifts in your gut, and you're going to have more of the good guys starting to come back. You're going to go through some withdrawal symptoms. I would say the first 3 to 5 days is going to be the worst. You're going to have some intense mood changes, brain fogs, maybe some cravings in the first week. You may also have some sleep disruptions and changes in emotions and variability in all this time. But if you push through it, then in week 2, that's when your brain, the neurochemistry is starting to stabilize and your dopamine pathway begins to go back to the normal way. Your cravings is going to go down, your brain fog is going to lift, and you're going to have better focus and clarity. And your gut in that time is also going to recover as well as with all the good guys it's going to come back and the microbiome is going to become partially stabilized in about 2 weeks. So that's not a big time period, like 14 days.
What a difference it could make in one's world.
Yeah, and our gut microbiome plays into so many other hormone processes like estrogen, progesterone, hormones, and all of these things. So taking care of our gut by taking care of what we eat is really medicine for the body, right? So the old saying, food is medicine, it's actually very true.
Well, and when you start feeling better, your energy levels are better through the day. You can walk further, you sleep better. You're not forgetting things all the time because you're not sitting in that brain fog.
I think the whole topic around sugar, brain health, and gut health, I'm very glad that we're touching on it today. There's so many things that we could be doing, not only as an individual, but as a society to address this. So, changing our food environment to make things easier for us as consumers to navigate that to start. But until those policies and things change on a systemic level, I think we need to take more of an ownership ourselves on an individual basis to look after ourselves. Sometimes making the best decision for our body and mind is not the easiest, but it's going to provide us with the best outcome.
Yeah, great place to end. Dr. Ding, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk with you on this topic and such great insights. If people have questions or want more information, you can all go to kalehealth.ca and find out what Dr. Ding is all about. So great having you.
Thank you so much. Glad to be back.
Coming up, Kat and I take a deeper dive into protecting ourselves from EMFs.
And that's why scientists are still keeping an eye on it, and people are looking into creating protection just in case to give you that safety net.
Health Tag.
Ready to take the plunge? Cold plunging isn't just a test of courage. It's a practice backed by science with some pretty cool benefits. Yes, the pun was intended. Studies show that a dip in cold water can boost circulation, reduce inflammation, and even speed up muscle recovery after workouts. Regular plunges may also strengthen your immune system and help your body adapt better to stress. Everything Lifestyle's Kat Cullen caught up with a cold plunger and coach to understand the idea a little bit more.
I am joined today by Brian Hannon, who is an incredible entrepreneur and my personal cold plunge coach. For somebody who's never done cold plunging before, you were such an incredible support system to get me through my first cold plunge. Can you share a little bit, just generally, what cold plunging is?
Cold shock therapy, putting yourself in a tub full of cold water under 15 degrees is cold shock therapy. What we like to do here at Trinity is to do it for a longer period of time than just jumping in and out of cold water for an initial shock. And we spend about 3.5 minutes in the cold water. Because it's longer than just jumping in, feeling the cold water and jumping back out. It obviously takes a lot of, a method to get through this and to coach people through that long period of time being in cold water.
It seems so simple, and 3.5 minutes is like, okay, that doesn't seem that long. But when you are in water that is 7 or 12 or 13 degrees, it seems like an eternity. So talk to me a little bit about the physical versus mental experience of cold plunging and how they both kind of work together to get you through that experience.
I think a really important thing to kind of mention is that if you're there for someone and someone feels like you're there for them, it's just so much easier to get past really bad situations. You're then encouraging people to come to your facility and put themselves in a really uncomfortable situation, whether it be hot or whether it be cold, because the combination of the two, you're purposely putting your body in a really uncomfortable position so that your body reacts in a certain way to speed up recovery or help with cardiovascular health or a fight against diseases in the sauna. Because it's not easy. Just because it's hot, it doesn't mean it's easy. And then you're going in a cold tub that's incredibly cold for 3.5 minutes, which is also a big stressor on the body and something that's really difficult. And so if someone coaching you hasn't been through difficult things or hasn't done it themselves a lot, it's a little bit harder to coach. That's why it takes a certain type of person to be able to do it, because people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so when you're in the tub and I show that I care, I know what you're going through. Here's how to get past it. You are more inclined to want to win and to beat this mental voice that's telling you this is uncomfortable, get out of here, which happens all the time, because I'm there with you right by your side. And so the shock of both hot and cold is a chance for you to show yourself how tough you are mentally. And then as a result, you get all the physical benefits as well. And so kind of like going through tough situations helps with coaching, because you can put yourself in the mind frame of the person that's in this discomfort.
Let's talk about some of those physical benefits, because using the sauna and the cold plunge together amplifies the benefits. But overall, what benefits can someone expect to experience when they take on cold plunging or contrast therapy on a regular basis as part of their health and wellness journey?
There's such a massive amount of studies out there about this now. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to even venture into that. But what I love to do with people is to paint a picture of what could happen by doing this. And because it happens to everybody. Because obviously when we're in the sauna, our body's releasing heat shock proteins. It's helping our immune systems. It's helping with blood flow. It's helping with recovery. It's loosening us up. It's helping with muscles, joints, the whole lot. And then we put ourselves in the cold tub, which helps with inflammation, muscle pain, joint pain. It gives us really a feel-good factor after doing it. But what happens is that when you use contrast therapy in your weekly schedule, let's say I'm working out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I feel like I need to take a day off, or the rest of the workouts are going to be kind of half-assed. All of a sudden, when you introduce contrast therapy, you can go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, you do contrast therapy. It's like you can work out the same level as you did on Monday on Saturday. And so it rapidly recovers the body. It gets you back to your baseline way quicker than it would if you just kind of sat around and let your body heal itself. And so the rapid recovery is the biggest thing physically that you could do to help. But then the biggest thing that shocked me was it's not just athletes that come in here. It's not just people that are coming in here for physical recovery to continue to work out at the gym. It's people that have a sore back or are struggling to walk, have a bad knee, or, you know, even mentally struggling, emotionally struggling. People come in, and just by doing this difficult thing mentally, it gets you out of fight or flight. It brings you back to an even playing field mentally, and it can just really reset whatever's going on in your head. And, you know, when you pair that with someone that's there coaching you through and really helping you through whatever you've come here to heal, it's just so powerful mentally and emotionally. That's why a lot of people have gotten really emotional in here, and it kind of took me by surprise. But, you know, there's a lot of tears around here.
Happy tears, and tears that bring you closure, and they're definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
What are some of the most inspiring transformations you've seen, either physical or mental, but just journeys you've witnessed in people in your community that have really transformed their life, their way of thinking, because they do come see you frequently?
There's no one person, because honestly, Kat, like, it happens all the time. Yesterday, there was two girls walking in the door, and I heard them talk to each other. Is it normal to be anxious and nervous and scared about this? And I'm like, yeah, I shouted out, like, because when they came in, it's like people hear about the benefits. People are curious to do it. People want to experience it, but they just get in their own head and they get nervous and scared and anxious about it. And that's natural. From the very start of that, it's just how you prepare people coming into Trinity, because every single person that's scared to do cold plunging has a picture in their mind that is the silver trough full of ice in a winter atmosphere, super intimidating, it's scary, it doesn't look nice. And so I bring them in and I say, one of the tubs is kind of like that. And the picture in your mind is our 3-degree tub, which is the coldest tub. But let's work backwards and put your mind at ease, because there's a tub over here that's 7 degrees, so less challenging than what's in your head. And then there's another tub that's 12 degrees, which is way less challenging than what you thought. And then you see them go, like it's like a penny drop. And then they get in the sauna and then they do their first cold plunge. And it is always the same thing. It's just so incredible to see the amount of growth that happens to someone in this space of 3.5, 4 minutes, because they're standing beside the tub, they're getting ready to go in. They are terrified. And then they get in and we coach them through how to get in properly and how to calm themselves down. And then when the beeper starts, they're like, is that mine? I'm like, yes, because we can coach people through it. But at the end of the day, it's us showing you what you're capable of. You've decided to go into this tub. You've decided to stay here for 3.5 minutes. And just because the timer has gone off and just because the water's cold, that's not why we're getting out. We're getting out because you're choosing to get out. That's why we stand up, we take a last breath, and we get out when we're ready to get out. It's all about just empowering people. And every single time they get out, they're like, I can't believe I just did that. And seeing that in every person that it happens to is just like seeing it for the first time. It's so special, and it's just nice to know that you've created something and have a team of people around you that can encourage that kind of response from people on a daily basis. It's incredible.
It's a wonderful thing to get to do at work every day. Brian, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing this incredible journey with us. People can find out more by visiting your website, which we'll put in the show notes, and following Trinity on social media as well. We'll be sure to include that in the show notes as well. Brian, thank you once again.
Thank you for having me, Kat.
Coming up later, a Being Real story that sheds light on coming to accept and process the death of a loved one. And it's a bit poetic.
I just remember reaching out, grabbing his hand and crying and not knowing what to do, and then saying all of the things that he already knew. He knew I loved him, and he knew I'd miss him, and he knew that this sucked.
Life Unlocked.
Kat, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Excellent. So we're getting into the fall weather. It's my favorite time of year. Love the fall.
Yeah.
Sweater weather. It's sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Oh, sweater weather. Sweater weather. Sweater weather.
I am absolutely with you in the love of autumn, for sure.
All right, listen, I've got a quick question for you. Do you sleep with your phone by your bed?
Guilty, 100%. It's my alarm clock, my calendar, my everything. It is never more than an arm's reach away. It is right there.
Yeah, exactly. Same here for the most part, but I have changed my habits lately. I know people wonder if being surrounded by all the invisible phone energy is actually doing something to us.
So EMF, so that electromagnetic field, and EMR, which is electromagnetic radiation, are often used interchangeably, but EMF refers to the electric magnetic fields generated by electricity, while EMR is the broader term for energy that travels as waves and includes the entire electromagnetic spectrum.
Yeah, and there's a lot of this around us. So what do you think? Concern or not?
I did not used to be concerned, but after my chat with Arthur, I'm definitely hyper aware and hypersensitive to it, and am, like you, actively trying to make some lifestyle changes.
It's hard not to think about it, right? And that's really what we try to do with Life Unlocked, is just give you information, some science based behind it, the research that we do. So here's the deal. EMFs come from natural sources. They come from the Earth's magnetic field or thunderstorms. And then they also come from modern technology, like our power lines, our Wi-Fi, our cell phones, and even our kitchen appliances.
Mm-hmm. And even though we can't see them, they're basically woven into everyday life, at home, at work, at school, everywhere.
Yeah. So then the big question becomes, what do they do to our bodies? So our bodies already run on electricity, these tiny little signals that keep our heart beating, nerves firing, and our brain actually working.
Absolutely. And EMFs can create little currents inside of us too, but at everyday levels, those currents are so weak that they don't really cause any harm. We got to break this down, so we need to know what the science actually says about the risks, if there are any.
Yeah, and so far, no proof that everyday low EMFs are harmful.
Right. Though in the late 70s, some studies did suggest that kids living near power lines might have a slightly higher risk of leukemias.
Yeah, and there was also some talk around power lines and brain tumors, where people were exposed to a lot of power lines. There was a higher risk of brain tumors. But later, research has found that only at very high exposures was there any possible increase. And even then, sadly, the evidence wasn't consistent.
Yeah. What is interesting, though, is what Arthur brought up in our conversation last episode. It's just that we don't know, and we won't truly see the effects for years.
And that's why we dug around some more about all of this to see what the experts are saying. And the World Health Organization's Cancer Agency classified extremely low frequency EMFs as possibly carcinogenic. But that was based on limited evidence and mainly childhood leukemia, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and in 2015, the European Commission said there's no solid proof that EMFs from phones or Wi-Fi cause cancer, but they encouraged more research just to be sure.
And just remember that public health agencies already set safety standards with huge built-in safety margins. But I get why people worry, because phones are glued to our heads, as you said, Kat, and laptops are on our laps. Wi-Fi is everywhere, and the exposure just really feels nonstop.
Absolutely. And that's why scientists are still keeping an eye on it. And people like Arthur from Havenware are looking into creating protection just in case, to give you that safety net, to feel like you are protecting yourself in the off chance, or if in the long term they find out that this is causing a concern, you've got that built-in protection.
So what can we do even though we don't necessarily know? Put it on speakerphone. Use headphones. Definitely don't sleep with that phone underneath your pillow. Put it on airplane mode. Give your lap a break from your laptop now and then.
Yeah, basically we're saying be smart about your tech. Don't stress over it. Don't make it all consuming and, fixate on this every moment of every day. But just be mindful and be aware of the possible risks that are out there and just make choices to take a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it's always all about balance and what feels good for you. There's so many places that you can go for more information. If you do want to take a deeper dive and you do want to check out some of the things that we have said, absolutely you can check it out. And they're also listed in our show notes where you can go for some information. So thanks, Kat.
Thank you.
Coming up on Everything Lifestyle, we've got life advice with Life Unlimited, Stephanie Staples.
I'm just going with the flow and there's nobody around. I'm dancing away under the full moon. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm so happy.
Being real.
It's a fact of life. We all die. But how do we navigate through the ups and downs, the unknowns, the sadness? This is Miguel's story. This is Being Real.
My name is Miguel Eichelberger. My father, when he passed away, we didn't know how quick it would happen. Once the diagnosis came through, it happened a lot faster than we would have expected. And that meant not being there in time to see him go. I remember getting the phone call, you gotta come quick, phone call. I live in Vancouver and my parents lived on the farm where I grew up, which is up in northern British Columbia. So I booked a flight immediately. I don't remember the flight at all. I remember arriving at the hospital and then going into the room, seeing him there, and trying to understand what that meant. And I just remember reaching out, grabbing his hand and crying and not knowing what to do, and then saying all of the things that he already knew. He knew I loved him and he knew I'd miss him and he knew that this sucked, you know what I mean? He knew all those things, but I remember saying them because I'm like, I guess this is what you're supposed to do. Feeling all of that stuff, tightness in the chest and just not knowing what to do, not having been prepared for a thing like this, because this isn't a thing that people can really prepare you for. And then remember thinking, there's no roadmap for this, at least none that I'm aware of. And if there's no roadmap for this, it means I got to make my own. I remember wandering around the living room of my childhood home and seeing the photos and seeing his empty chair and seeing the books on the shelves and seeing his empty chair and just being kind of numb. It was 2 days later, it was after my first full sleep. That was when I was like, okay, well, I got to do something with this. I don't want to live in a world where all the color's gone out of it. What is this pain here for? What is this sadness here for? What is that reason? What are the gifts in it? And the only way I could think to do that was to open my notebook and start writing. It didn't matter what I was going to face. It didn't matter how sad I was. It didn't matter how angry I was. It didn't matter how frustrated, lost, confused. None of those things mattered. Whatever it was, I was going to write it and see whatever fell out. What a privilege it is to have loved someone or something so much that it hurts this bad when they're gone. I remember sitting on the floor in my living room crying maybe a year and a half after he was gone. The strangest things will undo you after you lose somebody. And I think it was a song that had nothing to do with him. I don't even think he liked the band. And I remember crying, but for the first time ever, I was smiling and laughing. And I remember looking up at my wife and saying, man, what a privilege. Grief is there for you. It's not there to hurt you. Like, the lost part sucks, but grief is an extraordinary companion if you sit with it, if you interrogate it, if you consult it, if you ask it to tell you why it's there. I'm telling you, you are going to learn so much about yourself. I think that's the surprising bit of it. You do the same things that everybody does, right? Like, you go through the old boxes of things and you sift through a life held in file folders and stuff, and you find these old photos and hear these old stories of things you never really knew. You start to learn a little bit more of those details, but what it really makes you do is turn inward. You zoom in on that pain, you start to realize what's of value, real value, what isn't. Like, I think it's actually a really extraordinary space for self-actualization and coming to terms with this other fundamental learning, which is all of it's okay. Everything is. Hence the title of the book. Everything is okay. Doesn't matter how guilty or shameful or strange you might feel in it. Everything is okay, and it's there for a reason. After about 2 years of pretty consistent, at least weekly writing, here I am with this notebook filled with about 140 poems. And I sat down with my wife, and she helped me pin it down to a more manageable 80 or 90. And then I edited and rewrote, and I was still trying to figure out, like, what am I trying to do here? Oh, I'm trying to show people how special my relationship with my father was. I'm trying to show people how special the relationship with grief is. And I'm trying to show people how all of these things are instead of just letting them see. So I went back, edited it one more time, brought it down to this like really thin volume you see now, which is only 40 pages. We've felt something, maybe almost in the background of our consciousness, that we've never really given voice to, or we haven't found the words to describe, and so therefore we don't really pay much attention to it. But then on that day where you hear that perfect sentence, that perfect soundbite, the perfect word for what it is you're feeling, all of a sudden it clicks into you, and now you have a handle to carry it. Like, okay, I understand what this is now. It's almost freeing. It's that old adage where if you know something's name, now it doesn't have power over you anymore. And that's another thing I'm hoping too, is that you find even just one sentence, one phrase, one metaphor that lands for you so that it makes grief easier to hold and carry.
Thank you for your story, Miguel. You can find his book of poems entitled Everything Is at miguelbergerger.com. Coming up, an extension of this conversation as we're diving into the final chapter of our series on unspoken trauma with clinical counselor Claire Maisonneuve, and she's tackling death.
Don't be afraid of thinking about your own mortality. Think about death every day. When I think about death every day, I'm so grateful to be alive.
Life Unlimited with Stephanie Staples.
She's not your typical keynote speaker, coach, or consultant. She's a little quirky, a little unconventional, and 100% dedicated to making a difference. From a 5'2" nurse with a nice little life to an award-winning speaker, coach, entrepreneur, columnist, and consultant, Stephanie Staples' journey took off when she followed her passion for personal development. Since then, she's graced stages from the Mayo Clinic to the Middle East, written for top publications, launched businesses, some triumphs, some lessons, and achieved the highest designation in professional speaking, Certified Speaking Professional, or CSP. She doesn't claim to be an expert in everything, but she's always real, always engaging, and always ready to spark meaningful conversations about living your life unlimited. So grab a cup of tea, coffee, or whatever fuels you and get ready for the ride. So Steph, our last conversation that we had, we were talking about doing something that you've thought about. You bought a motorcycle and learned how to ride, and I was talking about dancing and taking some lessons. And we stopped recording, and then you started talking about this really cool thing that you do. And I wanted to start with that. You started this Under the Moon dance thing. I'm coming out for it. I think this is amazing. So just let us know what this is, because I thought this was really cool.
I asked you about something you love, and you said, I love to dance. Like, my first thought is like, I love to dance too. But, you're an adult. It's like, when do you dance really? Like you go to the odd wedding here or there, or I don't know, unless you take dance lessons. Or for me, there wasn't like a lot of opportunities to dance. One night I was out walking by myself under the full moon and I had my music on and I was by a pier and I'm like, I just felt like, sometimes the music just gets you. I'm just going with the flow and there's nobody around. I'm dancing away under the full moon. I'm like, this is like awesome. I'm so happy. And the next day I was telling my friend, I'm nuts. Last night I was like dancing all by myself on the pier under the moon. She just goes, I would totally dance under the full moon with you. She goes, that sounds fun. So the next month, her and I were under the full moon. We're dancing away and told two friends. And it's turned into a thing. So I started like a Facebook group. It's called Under the Moon Dance Party. Every month we have a dancing night. People come from all over.
I love this.
We have an informal DJ who plays like a 1-hour playlist for us. She's amazing. DJ Boom Kitty, we call her.
Great name.
But the most beautiful thing about it, and sometimes I just step back and I just watch. We're at a park under a bandshell and I just watch people being free and having fun and enjoying themselves. And there's something about dancing outside that you can kind of be bigger than you normally would be on a dance floor. You just have permission to be bigger. When you're not in a great headspace, if you go outside, if you listen to music, if you move your body, if you're in a happy social environment, any of those things separately will elevate your mood. But you start layering those things on top of each other, you cannot come home in the same headspace. And people tell me like they're in a great mood for like days after this. Like it matters to people. So I'm thrilled and excited about it. But the point of the story is
it's great.
If I would have waited for somebody to create a monthly outside dance party, I would still be sitting around waiting. And because we do it outside, people are like walking by, on their evening walks or something. So people will just join in. Amazing things have happened. We've literally had people from all over the world show up.
I want to elaborate a little bit on this because I do think it's such a great thing. Like, make it happen. If it's not out there, just make it happen.
I'm going to give you another example. So when my daughter was a tween, we would enjoy reading together. And like book clubs, they're pretty popular and stuff. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have like a mother-daughter book club.
Great idea.
So we started one.
Of course you did.
We invited a few of her friends and their moms, and we would meet like every 6 weeks. We'd go for dinner or we'd make a little outing out of it. And we did it for years and it was a beautiful thing. But if I'd have sat around and waited for somebody to start a mother-daughter book club, you do have to put yourself out a little bit. And people might say no, it might not be their cup of tea. Nobody might show up. Like things might happen. But it also could turn into a glorious experience that is a game changer from you and many other people.
Yeah. I think we could almost go back to some of the things that we started and really enjoyed doing during those COVID times.
And what I find too is it doesn't have to be a weekly thing. It doesn't even have to be a monthly thing. It could be kind of a pop-up thing. Hey, I've got some time this week. Does anybody else have time this week to do such and such? Or what about something that's quarterly? But putting something on that calendar and not having that pressure of, it must be weekly or we must do this or, well, maybe not. Something's better than nothing, right? And I'll just guarantee you this. Thinking about it is not going to bring you that much joy. Doing it is going to bring you joy.
That's right.
Right? The thinking about it is, you need to think about it, but acting on it, that's going to be really beneficial.
Yeah. And if no one else is acting on it, you can't join someone else. Well, then you make people join you because you've started that idea. That's what I think is so great in this. Don't be afraid to start something because look at your dance under the moon parties.
I don't know. Now when you come, you're going to want to come on dance party day.
I am going to make sure that I plan my trip to the West Coast so that I can do that for sure. It'd be so much fun.
The other thing that's great about being the planner is you get to pick what day is good for you. And you get to pick the type of music you like. And you get to pick the recipe or whatever it is. You get to be the planner. So you get a little bit of control and empowerment, I think, when it's your own event.
Yeah, I would agree. I love it. I'm going to look to try something like this. Plus, I think it pushes our own walls that we've put up. Like, I can't do that. Someone else has to start that, or I'm afraid to, or anything that we do, right? We talk ourselves out of things so frequently that when it's something that you really enjoy, just give it a try and get it started.
There's a dozen reasons why not to, but there only needs to be one reason to.
Exactly.
And maybe it's just because you want to.
Let's just give it a whirl and see if it sticks.
Or give it a twirl. Give it a twirl, as it were.
A twirl. There you go.
My bestie's got a little one going in Winnipeg.
So there you go. You're going to start this across the country, Steph. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's a perfect place to end. Steph, always so good. Before we go, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Can you just help me encourage people to live your life unlimited? Because, the alternative is just unfortunate. And
Yeah,
we need a little bit more of that in the world. So thanks for what you do, Linda.
Well, it's why I love you, Steph. I love these conversations. And if anyone out there is looking for an incredible motivational speaker, you've got one right here in Stephanie Staples. Go to stephaniestaples.ca for more information to reach out to her.
Yeah.
You rock.
Mindfulness moment.
Even though it will happen to all of us, it's a topic that many shy away from, can't talk about, and avoid at all cost. Claire Maisonneuve is a seasoned clinical counselor with over 35 years of experience. She's the director of the Alpine Counseling Clinic, where she leads a team of 25 dedicated counselors, offering both counseling services and direct neurofeedback. Over the years, Claire has explored and integrated a wide range of approaches to help people find inner peace. This journey has given her a profound understanding of how the mind, heart, and soul work together, and how we can nurture each to live more fully and authentically. Today is the final chapter of our series on unspoken trauma, grief, and why we need to come to grips with death.
I think the way to prepare for death is to be able to ask the big questions. What is the meaning of my life? What is the purpose of my life? And to do your own self-exploration about what happens after we die. Because it's not a mystery. It's out there, especially with the internet. We can have access to all that information. But of course, you're going to find what you want to believe. So do your research, look around, ask and see what fits for you. And whether it's true or not doesn't matter. But if it actually helps you come to peace with your own mortality and your own death, and it helps you live a better life, who cares? That's the key, is I want to enjoy my life while I'm alive. So asking those existential questions, not at the end of my life, but at the beginning of my life. What is my purpose in being here? What is the meaning of life? What is this grand thing really all about? Get on a path, get on your own search, get researching about this, because there are a lot of enlightened masters that have talked about this. Even science is beginning to explore this topic and explain these realities to us. The second thing is, don't be afraid of your feelings. Don't be afraid of thinking about your own mortality. Think about it. Think about death every day. When I think about death every day, I'm so grateful to be alive. As soon as I think about I'm going to die, I'm getting older. I'm getting closer to my grave. Every year, I am getting closer to my grave. And that's a wonderful idea, because every day then I'm more and more grateful about being alive, the way I'm alive. And I have this understanding in my heart and mind about what I'm doing here and what the purpose of my life is. So it makes me even more grateful every day. You want to think about, who would I be? How would I be? What would I be if my husband died tomorrow? What would I do if I lost a child? Of course, you will never know what that feels like until it happens. However, to be able to contemplate and say, that's a distinct possibility, that my loved ones around me, they're not immortal physically, maybe spiritually, but not physically. They could be taken. And to think about, that possibility, and to think about what would I do, how I would manage that. And a lot of that answer will also be, how do I feel inside myself day to day in my heart? How is my relationship to them day to day? You know, sometimes when I see parents have really difficult conflict with their kids, they don't talk to each other, they're alienated. Sometimes I want to say to them, think about it. If they were going to die tomorrow, would you be at peace with yourself? Because that's the key. The key is not them. They'll be at peace because they've died, they've gone on the other side, they're okay. It's me that's the one that's left behind. I have to think, will I be at peace? And again, that's something I think about every day. If I lost you tomorrow, would I be at peace? Would I be okay? I had a very close encounter with my husband once. We thought he was going to die, basically. And the only words that I could find out of my mouth to say to him when I found out was thank you. Thank you for this incredible life. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you for, and it was like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm at peace. I'm in harmony. It's not like I've taken care of you or you've taken care of me or we've done this and now you're going to go and how could you do this to me? And oh my God, what's going to happen? You're going to leave me here. It was just gratitude, utter gratitude. And so thinking about death helps me to constantly reevaluate my relationship with those people on a day-to-day basis. And that's why I say, if I'm alienated from somebody or in conflict with somebody that I haven't spoken to for a long time, will I be okay if I lose them? And I don't think that's a morbid thought at all. That's a thought that helps me live with more peace and harmony day to day.
You can find Claire at alpineclinic.ca. Life's busy enough, right? Between work, errands, and the daily chaos, adding wellness can feel like just another task. But here's the thing. You don't have to figure it out alone. We're here to make it simpler and honestly, a lot more fun. I'm Linda Freeman. Thanks for listening to Everything Lifestyle. You've been listening to Everything Lifestyle, an initiative powered by Pattison Media, designed to inspire and motivate a healthy life. For more information on this program, go to everythinglifestyle.ca.
Another Everything Podcast production. Visit everythingpodcast.com, a division of Pattison Media. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast.